The harmattan wind howled outside, rattling the old wooden shutters of the Adeyemi family house. Inside, the atmosphere was warm and lively, filled with laughter, the smell of roasted goat meat, fried plantains, and spices wafting through the air. It was Christmas Eve, the one night of the year when the entire extended family gathered under one roof to celebrate. But for 26-year-old Amara, it was the most dreaded night of the year. She stood silently in the corner of the lavish living room, clutching a tray of drinks as her cousins flaunted their expensive outfits and flashy phones. Amara's dress was simple, a plain cream-colored gown she had sewn herself. She couldn't afford luxury. Every naira she earned went to paying her bills and helping her younger brother through school. "Ah, see how you're just standing there like a housemaid," her Aunt Gozi sneered loudly, ensuring everyone heard. "Amara, can't you even dress well for once? You make this family look poor." The room erupted in chuckles. Amara forced a small smile, lowering her gaze. "Good evening, Auntie," she muttered, walking away before tears betrayed her. Her mother, Mrs. Adeyemi, was sitting on a plush red sofa beside Amara's father. The couple had a reputation in their community. They were respected, wealthy, and deeply concerned about appearances. Their other two children had lived up to expectations. Adiz, the firstborn, was a medical doctor married to a wealthy businessman, while Tand, the youngest, was a law student at one of Nigeria's prestigious universities. And then there was Amara, the family's black sheep. Amara had studied computer science at a local university, but after graduating, she couldn't find a job for years. She had worked odd jobs, teaching children computer basics, assisting at cybercafes, even hawking recharge cards, to survive. Then, by sheer determination, she landed an entry-level position at a mid-sized tech company. She was proud of herself, even if the pay was modest. But to her parents, her job was a disgrace compared to Adiz's high-paying medical career and Tan's promising future as a lawyer. Whenever family gatherings happened, her mother would introduce her with tight lips and a forced laugh, as though apologizing for her existence. Tonight was no different. As Amara tried to slip into the kitchen, her father's voice boomed, halting her steps. "Amara! Come here." She froze, every muscle tensing. Slowly, she turned back, all eyes now on her. "Do you see your cousins? Do you see your siblings?" Mr. Adeyemi gestured around the room, his voice laced with disappointment. "Christmas is a time of pride for families, yet you keep embarrassing us. You work like a common laborer. No ambition, no prospects. Look at your sister Adiz, she married well, she built a name for herself. And you? You can't even bring home a decent man." Amara's throat tightened. "Papa, I'm trying my best. My company is growing, and I'm learning a lot." "Learning?" her mother interrupted sharply. "At your age, Adiz was already driving a car and paying for our vacations. You've been nothing but a burden. You are a shame to this family, Amara." The words sliced through her like a knife. A few relatives gasped, but no one dared to speak up. The Adeyemis were powerful, and everyone knew better than to meddle in their affairs. Amara wanted to disappear, to sink into the floor and never be seen again. She bit her lips so hard she tasted blood, willing herself not to cry in front of them. Her father wasn't done. "You've been living in our house rent-free for years. At least Adiz brings gifts whenever she visits. And Tan sends money from his school. You? Nothing. Just stories about this so-called tech company. If you don't have anything tangible to show by next year, you will leave this house and fend for yourself." The room fell silent. The only sound was the Christmas carols playing softly from the speaker. Amara swallowed hard, nodding slowly. "Yes, sir," she whispered. Then, without another word, she turned and fled to the backyard, her chest heaving as tears streamed down her face. The night air was cool and smelled faintly of roasted corn from a nearby vendor. Amara sat on the stone steps, hugging herself tightly. She had known her parents didn't value her, but hearing them call her a shame in front of everyone shattered something deep inside her. She remembered the nights she stayed up working on coding projects, the days she went without food so her younger brother could eat, the countless times she turned down outings just to save money for rent. None of it mattered to them. They didn't see her effort, only her lack of visible success. A soft voice broke through her thoughts. Amara? She looked up to see Tand standing there, his hands shoved in his pockets. Unlike their parents, Tand adored his sister. He had always been her confidant. You shouldn't listen to them, he said gently, sitting beside her. You're not a shame. You've done more for me than anyone else in this family. Amara managed a watery smile. Thanks, Tand. But it still hurts. I know, he said, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. One day, they'll see how amazing you are. Amara sighed, unconvinced. I don't know. Maybe they're right. Maybe I'm just nothing. Before Tand could respond, loud voices erupted from inside the house. Then, the front gate creaked open, and a sleek black SUV rolled in. The family, curious, gathered near the entrance to see who it was. Amara wiped her face and followed cautiously. The SUV door opened, and a tall, sharply dressed man stepped out. His presence commanded attention, broad shoulders, confident stride, and an expensive wristwatch glinting under the porch light. It was Mr. Obinna Okoro, CEO of the tech company where Amara worked. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Mr. Okoro was a well-known figure in the business world, a self-made billionaire whose company had recently been in the news for a groundbreaking project. Good evening, everyone, Mr. Okoro said warmly, scanning the faces before his gaze settled on Amara. Ah, there you are, Amara. I've been looking for you. Every head swiveled toward her. Her mother's eyes widened in disbelief. You know him? She stammered. Amara blinked, equally shocked. Sir? What are you doing here? He smiled. You didn't tell me it was your family's home we'd be delivering to tonight. He turned to the rest of the family, his voice booming with pride. I came to personally thank Amara. She's been instrumental in leading our latest project. Without her, our company wouldn't have secured our biggest international deal yet. Whispers erupted instantly. Adi's jaw dropped, and her father looked like he'd swallowed a lemon. Obinna continued, Amara is one of the brightest minds I've ever worked with. She's humble, hardworking, and incredibly talented. This year alone, she's contributed innovations that will shape the future of our company. I couldn't let the year end without showing my gratitude. With that, he reached into the SUV and pulled out a wrapped gift, a gleaming laptop and a check inside an envelope. This is just a token of appreciation, Amara. Amara stood frozen, her mind reeling. She had worked tirelessly on that project for months, but never imagined her efforts would be recognized this way. As Mr. Okoro handed her the gift, he added, Oh, and by the way, Amara has been promoted to head our new research department. Starting January, she'll be earning a salary most people can only dream of. The room fell into stunned silence. Amara's parents looked like statues, their earlier insults echoing in the air. The same daughter they had just called a shame was now being celebrated by a powerful CEO. Tand grinned proudly. See, Amara? I told you they'd see your worth one day. Amara's hands trembled as she accepted the gift. She glanced at her parents, hoping for some sign of approval, but all she saw was shock and regret etched on their faces. Later that night, as the party wound down, Mr. Okoro took his leave, praising Amara one last time before driving away. The house buzzed with murmurs, relatives suddenly eager to speak to Amara, offering congratulations and warm smiles that hadn't been there before. Her parents, however, stayed unusually quiet. Finally, her mother approached, her tone forced. Amara, we didn't realize you were doing so well. Amara met her gaze steadily. You didn't care to know, she said softly. You only saw what you wanted to see. Her father cleared his throat. Well, you've made us proud tonight. Amara gave a small, bittersweet smile. I didn't do it to make you proud, Papa. I did it for myself. As the night ended, Amara slipped out to the same backyard steps where she had cried earlier. The stars glittered overhead, and for the first time in years, she felt free. Tund joined her, handing her a cup of juice. You handled that perfectly. Amara sighed. It's funny. All my life, I tried to earn their love. But tonight, I realized something important. What's that? He asked. She smiled faintly. Sometimes, people will only value you when the world tells them to. But your worth, it has to come from within. The next morning, the Adeyemi household was quieter than usual. The festive energy from Christmas Eve had been replaced with an awkward stillness. No one knew how to behave around Amara now. Her mother busied herself in the kitchen, slamming pots and pans louder than necessary, while her father buried himself in the morning newspaper, pretending to read. Adiz, still reeling from last night's revelation, sat stiffly on the couch, scrolling through her phone in silence. Amara entered the living room, dressed smartly for church. She carried herself with a new sense of confidence, but her heart still felt heavy. Despite Mr. Okoro's public praise, the wound her parents inflicted with their words hadn't healed overnight. Adiz broke the silence first, her tone sharp. So, you've been keeping secrets, Amara? Working on some big project while the rest of us thought you were just struggling. Amara paused, meeting her sister's glare. I wasn't keeping secrets. I just didn't feel the need to prove myself to anyone anymore. Adiz scoffed. Or maybe you just enjoyed the attention you got last night. Before Amara could respond, their father lowered his newspaper. Enough, Adiz. He turned to Amara, his expression a mix of discomfort and regret. Your mother and I may have been harsh yesterday. We didn't know you were doing something so important. Amara's chest tightened. She wanted to believe his words were genuine, but a part of her knew they were only reacting to Mr. Okoro's praise. It shouldn't take a CEO's approval for you to respect me, she said quietly. Her mother, who had been eavesdropping from the kitchen doorway, spoke up defensively. We just wanted the best for you, Amara. We didn't understand why you were wasting your time at a small company instead of pursuing a proper career like Adiz. Proper career? Amara repeated, her voice trembling with emotion. Mama, I've worked tirelessly for years. You never once asked me about my dreams or my struggles. You only saw what I wasn't, not what I was becoming. The room fell silent. Even Adiz looked slightly guilty. Tund, who had been watching quietly, finally spoke. Amara has been paying my school fees for months, he revealed. When you both said you couldn't afford certain things, she stepped in, without telling anyone. Their parents froze, stunned. She even skipped meals so I could have enough pocket money, Tund continued, his voice breaking. While you were busy praising Adiz and me, Amara was the one sacrificing everything for this family. Tears filled Amara's eyes, but she held her head high. I didn't do it for recognition. I did it because I love you all. But love without respect, it feels like nothing. Her words hung in the air, raw and unfiltered. Adiz looked away, shame etched on her face. Their parents shifted uncomfortably, realizing for the first time the depth of their ignorance. Finally, Amara took a deep breath. I'll be moving out in January. My new position comes with better pay, and I've already found an apartment close to work. Her mother's eyes widened. You're leaving? Yes, Amara said firmly. I need space to grow, and to heal. I'll always be part of this family, but I won't stay where I'm constantly diminished. Tund hugged her tightly. I'm proud of you, Amara. As she hugged him back, she glanced at her parents. They looked smaller now, humbled by the truth they had been forced to face. Whether they would change was uncertain, but for once, Amara felt at peace with her decision. This Christmas had given her the greatest gift of all, the strength to choose herself. The first day of the new year dawned bright and golden, but for the Adeyemi family, there was a lingering heaviness in the air. Amara was packing the last of her belongings into a neat suitcase. Her new apartment keys glimmered on the bedside table, a symbol of her independence and the life she was finally ready to claim. Tand hovered near the doorway, his face clouded with sadness. "Are you sure about this, Amara?" he asked quietly. She smiled softly, folding one last blouse. "I'm sure, Tand. I need to do this for me. I can't keep living in a place where I'm only tolerated when I succeed." "But things have been different since Christmas Eve," he insisted. "Mama and Papa have been, well, nicer." Amara zipped up her suitcase with a decisive pull. "They're nicer because they know now. Not because they understand. That's different." As she lifted her bag, her parents appeared at the doorway. Her father's proud demeanor was gone, replaced with something uncertain, almost fragile. "Amara," he began, clearing his throat. "Before you go, there's something we need to say." Amara set her suitcase down and waited. Her mother stepped forward, wringing her hands nervously. "We were wrong, my child. We judged you by appearances and status, instead of by your heart and your efforts. We were blinded by our own expectations." Her father nodded slowly. "We thought we were protecting you by pushing you toward what we considered success. But in doing so, we failed to see the strength and brilliance you already had." Amara's eyes burned with tears, but she held them back. "Papa, Mama, I appreciate your words. But you have to understand something. The things you said to me, calling me a shame, those wounds don't just disappear overnight." Her mother's lips trembled. "We know. And we'll spend the rest of our lives trying to heal that hurt, if you'll let us." For the first time in years, Amara saw sincerity in their faces. It didn't erase the pain, but it gave her a fragile hope that maybe, just maybe, they could rebuild their relationship. Tand, already crying, blurted out, "Can we at least have a proper family breakfast before you leave?" Amara laughed through her tears. "Of course." As they sat around the dining table, the atmosphere felt different. There was no competition, no sharp words or dismissive glances. Instead, there was a quiet, genuine warmth. Adiz even reached out to hold Amara's hand. "You've inspired me, Amara," Adiz admitted softly. "I used to think success was about titles and money. But seeing what you've built, and how hard you've worked, I want to do better. Not just for myself, but for you too." Amara squeezed her hand, touched by her sister's honesty. After breakfast, they walked her to the front gate. As Amara loaded her suitcase into the waiting taxi, her father hugged her tightly, a gesture she couldn't remember receiving since childhood. "You are not a shame, Amara," he whispered. "You never were. We just couldn't see it." Tears finally spilled down her cheeks. "Thank you, Papa." As the taxi pulled away, Amara gazed out the window, watching her family grow smaller in the distance. She felt a mix of sadness and liberation. For the first time, she was stepping into a future she had built entirely on her own terms. True recognition should never come only when the world applauds you. Sometimes, even family will misunderstand or underestimate you. But when you stand firm in your worth and stay true to your path, you don't just change your life, you challenge others to see differently, love differently, and grow. Amara's journey was proof that self-respect is the greatest gift you can give yourself, and sometimes, the first step to healing a broken family is learning to walk your own path.